I'm Laura Lenhard. I'm the owner of Talisman and Cauldron, a mystical shop established back in April of 2007. Been in business, it'll be 12 years this April. And we offer goods and services related to a myriad of religious and spiritual paths. I try to buy home-crafted items, handcrafted items, I should say, from all over the world. I focus primarily on American-based businesses and American families. I try to buy things that are made here in this country or from country of origin. So say my Buddhist items, they come from a man named Dawa Sherpa. He's a Nepalese American. And so the products he buys are from Nepal, made by Buddhists. I have a gentleman, Nathan, who has 2 mines in Brazil. He used to live in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Now he's down in Georgia. But these crystal skulls I have, the stones I have are from his 2 mines. And he goes down there a couple times a year and brings back some things. His family does the carving. So I really try to, that's important to me, that they celebrate where we are. And anyways, that's us. Demographically, originally it was women between 35 and 45. At this point, it is a huge net. It has exploded over the past couple of years. My business doubled. I left Monroe, Connecticut, where I was for 10 years, to come to Derby, Connecticut. And both the move and the surge of interest in mysticism, New Ageism, and the religion of Wicca/witchcraft has just exploded. So talk about being in the right place at the right time. It's been amazing for that.
Have you noticed that younger people are?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when I say younger, I mean mothers are bringing in their middle school kids. And of course, the high school kids and young college students. Absolutely, there's an interest. And actually, the older kids are coming in with a great knowledge base. They're looking for very specific information, not general. They're already practicing. They already know what they're looking at. They already know what they're interested in. And so it's really great because it helps me craft classes and put together information, whether it's my own videos or my own newsletter that goes out to like 5,000 people and all over the world. But what am I putting out there? Well, it's specific to what people are asking me questions about, what they want to know more about. And it's not 101. It's really good stuff.
So what do you attribute to this sort of surge in interest in young people?
Well, I think it's twofold. First of all, back in the 1970s, we saw witchcraft, Wicca, as a knee-jerk to the feminist movement. You know, I don't need your male god. You know, the feminine divine. Fast forward to the 2000s, and now what we're seeing is a knee-jerk to the environmental crisis that we really find ourselves in. So the idea of Mother Gaia, the idea of an earth-based religion that follows the agrarian wheel of the year, the harvests, the solstices, is very appealing, this sense of being connected to the earth. And it goes along with organic living and clean eating and where we buy our food and where our food is coming from. All of that, the idea of the farm animals being sentient, what are we doing to them? So there's this sense of consciousness, a social consciousness that's going along with a spiritual responsibility, not just a conscious, but a real responsibility. How do we live? Do we walk our talk? So that's fascinating. The other aspect is that it offers a sense of control. You know, when we pluck the strings of fate, which we do when we practice magic, we're altering our reality. And so it is, I don't want to call it a threat, it's a different approach than, let's say, Christianity, which teaches, you know, you pray and you ask and maybe you get. Where it's more, this is what I want, this is how I want it, and this is how I'm going to get it. And you're actually setting your own course. So you're the driver versus the passenger. A little different. But since most of us still pray to the gods, to some place, we're still accepting the fact that sometimes the answer is no. So that's a whole other topic of discussion, because that's a frustration. Some people think, and I am a vehement opposer of The Secret. I've talked about that openly since that book almost came out, because that's not how it works. You don't just keep asking and get what you want. It doesn't work with children, didn't work with my children. It doesn't work with deity or the universe, or however you're phrasing it. Just because you really, really want something doesn't mean you're going to get it. But you certainly have a better chance of, say, having a good day. When you wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to own this day. This is going to be a great day. Well, you'll probably have a mediocre day at worst. But if you wake up every day and you say, oh, another day. Ugh, this sucks. I hate. Well, guess what? You're probably not going to have a stellar day. So just the attitude and the way you direct your energy alters your reality. But it adds to the sense of hopelessness, this sense that we can't alter change. We can't create change within our own government. When we say things like, and this is my frustration, we need congressional term limits. And people's response to that is, well, we can't have those. Why can't we have those? Well, because they won't vote them in. I couldn't even vote them in. It's a government for the people, by the people. We can't demand something to happen. We can't affect change. It makes no sense. So then again, you take that and you times it by 1,000. Well, why can't we have organic food? Well, Well, why can't we? Why can't we work in this field? Well, then what do you do? Where is your? Well, we need to have control somewhere. And I think that it's self-control. How do we take care of our own selves? So there's an autonomy to it that goes along with this sense of millennials really having to create their own reality. I'll give you an example. The jobs, they're available. I was friends with a used bookstore owner, and he was telling me how one young man went to Barnes & Noble. I think it was Barnes & Noble. And he had asked about a Nook specialist position. Did they sell a Nook there? Was
the tablet?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they said, well, there's no such position here. He goes, I'll work for you for 2 weeks for free as your Nook specialist. And if you like what I do, we'll talk. And so they're like, all right. They gave him a desk. They had a little Nook specialist, kind of tag there. And guess what? Not only did he sell Nooks, he told people how to load them up. And it means sales surged. So at the end of the 2 weeks, and they said, well, we can't create this position, but they made him a sales associate, and they just put him in charge of that. So that's an example. Again, altering your reality. When someone tells you no, saying, well, why not? And how can we make this happen? And I think that goes along with the spiritual. Why can't we do it this way? Why can't? And you can. You gotta change. You gotta shift how it's done. That's all. A lot of the really younger ones, the middle schoolers and the lower level high schoolers, are looking for help because the education system is so flawed. So these are kids with ADHD, ADD, issues in school, bullying. Bullying's a huge problem, and it's not being addressed. I don't care how much time and attention they throw at it; it's not being addressed. So how do you protect yourself? How do you focus your studies? Everyone wants to succeed. No one wants to fail. So how do you empower yourself? How do you energetically charge yourself to deal with a reality where you're not Conan, you're a fish out of water here. And more kids are a fish out of water in their environment. They're a fish out of water in their schools. They're a fish out of water socially. So how do you handle that? How do you empower yourself? There are so many, God, where would you even start? There's some misconceptions. Everything in the media is probably wrong. Okay, start with that. What you're watching, whether it's Charmed or The Craft or Sabrina, the new Sabrina, there is no Dark Lord. We don't believe in Satan. That's a Christian construct. So take that off the table. We don't believe in hell. We don't believe in Satan. That belongs to Christians, and they can keep it. Our deities aren't interested in our eternal damnation and punishment. That's a big one. So when you ask us, aren't you afraid of going to hell? Well, no, because we don't believe in it. It actually doesn't exist. I am blessed to be the place people bring their kids. People who are interested in this actually come in and they bring their kids. I've got husbands, they bring their wives. And because we're ethical, because it's not a scary place. I brought a Southern California aesthetic. I was raised in Southern California. So my shop is very bright. It's very, smells really good. It's very energetically pleasing. I mean, when you walked in, did you feel comfortable? People do. I stay open late. I try to be an alternative to people going to bars after work. It's a place you can come. Bring your coffee, sit down, read a book, relax. Back in the Monroe shop where I had a bigger space downstairs, but they still offer it, kids can come here and do their homework if they want to. I believe in being a community resource. Our services everything's ethical here. Full disclosure. The psychic readings or other shops, it can be pretty shady. There's some shady things that go on, but not here. You know, you don't pay for something until it's done. If you're not happy, you don't pay. I do $5 readings during the work week. I'm here anyway. I'll throw cards, and it's a great introduction to something like tarot or palm reading that I've been doing since I was young. I was 14 reading palms and 16 reading tarot. And I had a great aunt that used to read tea leaves in Pennsylvania. It's a very Irish thing. And all my Irish family come from the Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area. And people would come from all over to get their tea leaves read by my great aunt. And so everyone, they come in and they see things that they may not have realized. Oh my God, yeah, my nanny used to do candles like that. Oh, I grew up smelling this. This is, what is this? Like, it's frankincense and myrrh. It's actually church, incense is what you grew up, when they were doing the incense, that was the censer, that was what they had burning. Now you have Yale University, I'm sorry, not Yale, Yale had just done studies on frankincense, and it actually does elevate the mood. It does lift the mood. Aromatherapy actually does work. But as I tell people in my shop, listen, I ever cut my arm open, by all means, do Reiki on me as you're driving me to the emergency room, please, to get stitched up. I mean, modern medical mechanisms, medical, I can't even talk, it's alliteration here. Modern medicine and spirituality and alternative medicines can coexist. They are coexisting. And more doctors, psychologists. I have area psychologists sending me their clients. And vice versa. I actually have groups that I'll send people out to, so they can get help in that regard. And I just talked about that in my newsletter and in my latest video. The need for mental health services that look at things with the dual diagnosis being people who have psychic abilities, psychic talents, psychic and metaphysical phenomena occurring, but they do need mental health. They have diagnosable mental health issues. So that's all fascinating. I mean, how interesting that is. Well, first of all, remember that there's unethical people in every industry. There are unethical mechanics. You go in to get your oil change and you find out you need all these things done. There's unethical electricians. There's unethical doctors. So that's one thing to keep in mind. However, in the psychic business, and I do have a shop here. It's a legitimate gift shop. I've been around for 12 years. I've been around because I'm ethical. I've stood the test of time. So there's a few things. One is if you want to record a reading here at the shop, you can. You can videotape it. You can tape it, audio tape it on your phone. That's a red flag if someone says no. What is being said that you don't want taped? Everything we say, we'll stand by. In Connecticut, just so you know, too, the law around psychic readings, you have to have a little disclaimer that says it's for entertainment purposes only in view. That's the law in Connecticut. Every state and every region is a little different. I know in Salem, Mass, you've got to have a license to do psychic readings. What else? If someone is telling you that they need $500, $700, $1,200 to lift a curse, and if it always goes to curse, you have a shadow. I talk about this extensively. I write about this extensively. Buy, leave. And I have intelligent, college-educated, smart women and men. One spent upwards of $12,000 with someone who was going to bring back her husband who had left her for another woman. $12,000. And there was a group, actually it was interesting. I had a pop-up shop at Captain's Cove in Bridgeport a few years back. And they didn't have a psychic there for a long time because the last one ended up being investigated by the feds for extortion. Someone reported it, and it went to that level. And so they didn't have anybody there for a long time. And I was the first to come back in. And it was because of my reputation. Here in Derby, when I applied to open the business, and I'm looking to buy this building actually that I'm in, I got in right away. I mean, usually it takes 2 or 3 meetings to bring in new businesses. Nope, mine went right in because of my reputation in the community. And I'm proud of that. I guard that. And that's the thing. I guard my reputation. My ethics are important to me. So.
Quick follow-up. How do you feel about being required to have that there?
I have no problem with that at all. I really don't. That's the law. It's the law. I pay my taxes. I abide by the law.
Well, I guess I'm curious about and is if it says that it's just for entertainment purposes, but this is something that you really hold dear, does that feel at all like they're trying to get you to, cheapen it in some way? Or?
Nope, not at all. If that's what they want, then that's what they want. People that come in, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, and true medical advice, you need to see a doctor is what I feel like this is an issue, I'm feeling something here, see a doctor. There have been 2 instances where people would have died. One was I felt something in the heart for the person's father, which wasn't even, the reading was about finances and job. And they kept coming through with the father. And I said, I'm getting this, what's his first name? And I said, I don't know, the chest. And she goes, he's going to the doctor, but he had surgery for a whole other part of the body. I'm like, do me a favor. I said, when you see the doctor, tell me a nightmare that your father died of a heart attack and ask him to do a stress test. And she goes, I will, Laura, no problem. Well, they did. And the father failed it. And in fact, the doctor said, thank God for your nightmare, because he would have stroked out in a few months. The blockage was that severe. And another instance, it was a woman talking, and I said, to you, concerned about your son. I said, I'm feeling like something with his skin. What's going on? She goes, yeah, he's had this thing, won't heal, and for a long time. I said, yeah, go to the doctor now with that. Don't delay on that. He had going into stage 4 skin cancer, and they delayed on it. And thank God, it was enough of wasn't scary, spooky, oh my God, it was just, no, you need to address this now. So in that instance, I have no problem. You want to call it entertainment. No one should live or die by a reading anyway. Nobody needs a reading. I feel strongly about that. When people call me all excited or all upset, I need, you eat, sleep, and breathe. You don't need a reading. But they certainly provide validation, and they help you maybe think creatively out of the box. All my readers have some social work background. They have something they bring to the table, in addition to the fact that they usually work full-time, so this is how they make their rent or their mortgage payments. So whether or not they get a reading from you, they're going to be okay. And that's another thing, is the person calling you to get more readings done. Are they trying to schedule more readings? I'm like, I don't want to see you again for at least 6 to 8 weeks, maybe longer, And my readers, we're all the same way. In fact, I kind of stand by that. It's in my newsletter every month. I don't want to see a psychoholic in my store, and it's not healthy. So there you go. That's another answer to the red flag issue. If they're trying to get you to commit to multiple readings, or I'm going to teach you, or classes, and everything is in the hundreds and thousands of dollars. So no, not here. We do a $10 tarot class. Most of our classes are in the $25 to $30 range. I think that what you were raised with, whatever spiritual path you were raised with, if it's working for you, then it's working. And we don't proselytize. In fact, none of the pagan religions proselytize. We're not knocking on doors asking if you found the goddess, or, your Lord and Master Bast, or what. We just don't do that. But if you're curious, or there's a sense of, this isn't filling all my needs, then by all means, it's an opportunity coming to the shop. We're always open to talk, and we still don't charge for talking. So if you're drawn to, say, crystals for some reason, come in and ask. We're happy to answer questions like that, and real questions, not woo-woo, and there's a lot of woo-woo out there. I moved from New Ageism to mysticism in both my shop title and what I'm presenting. And I'm a California girl. I love the idea of New Age, being in the New Age, being of the New Age. But it became sort of a pablum, a sort of a vanilla, watered down cure-all. And that's not what spirituality is. And there is an element of a true spiritual leader has some discernible training. I joke because people come in and they'll say, well, I'm an intuitive healer. I'm an intuitive shaman. That's just great, but I wouldn't go to an intuitive mechanic where they lay their hands on my car, or an intuitive electrician is not going to be wiring my house. So that's wonderful. Your gifts are there, but it's like musical talent. You could be a musical protege, but without some training, without education, where are you taking that musical talent? Nowhere, right? So I watch who you trust. Do due diligence. Get to know people in the community. There are great people in the community. They're doing really ethical, good work. But do your background work. And people are so desperate for answers. The one thing that shocked me the most, and I hope we have time for this really quickly, is how many people come into the shop letting me know that they went to see this person or that person, and now they know that they were cursed, because that's that big cursed family hex. Someone did something to them, and of course the only person that can lift the curse is the person who's let you know that you have a curse, and the cost to lift the curse is pretty hefty. So they come in asking what I can do to help them with the curse, and I'm like, I just don't see a curse. I see maybe a series of bad decisions, you know, or some lifestyle choices that were questionable. The curses are actually pretty damn rare, just like exorcisms. It's pretty rare. But I would love to see people, but people are happy to think that they were cursed because it absolves them of responsibility. You know, well, this is why I can't hold a job. Well, this is why I can't maintain a happy relationship. Well, so it's like, no, wait, no, it doesn't work like that, you know? So I guess if there was anything I'd want people to realize or recognize is that going back to the doing due diligence, going back to the idea of really think before you spend your money, think about who you're talking to. If you see someone that doesn't have a car, a drivable car, and they're living in a ramshackle place, and they don't present well, what right do they have to give you advice on how to get a job, you know, or how to find love? Who are you giving your money to, you know? It just doesn't make any sense, and yet people do it. And again, I think, I guess is the as IBM's slogan, you know, think. Yeah, that could be our slogan too.